Hi everyone, thank you very much for coming here after lunch. My name is Uri Kareev, and I'm going to speak about making the world a safer place. Before I start with my presentation, hold for a minute and imagine. Think someone would tell you that they can increase the city's safety, they can improve the traffic flow, they can improve the voters' satisfaction, and not only will it not cost you anything, you will actually profit along the way. Now, would this sound too good to be true? Open your eyes, and in the next 10 minutes, I will show you how we aim to reach these goals. Let's look at traffic enforcement today. When we look at the amount of lives lost on the road, or the cost of the economy of traffic accidents, it's easy to argue the traffic police is the biggest task on police's table. We have some statistics for fatalities both in the United States and the UK. How many of you here are from the UK? So fortunately for you, your country is twice as safe to drive in as the United States, and the United States is roughly as dangerous as Israel, which I come from. Now, when we look at the risks of the road and the correlation with violations, we see that enforcement focuses almost throughout the entire world, primarily on speed, and then followed significantly lower on red light enforcement and congestion control. However, when we look at accident-causing violations, we see that speeding accounts only to more or less 4% of accidents. Red light is indeed dangerous, but all the other violations are practically non-enforced today. So what happens? Where are the other 80 or so % of accident-causing violations? Violations like solid line crossing, like dangerous overtaking, not yielding to pedestrian, which is arguably the single most dangerous violations. Why are these violations not enforced? So the sad truth is that throughout most of the world, these violations are only enforced by a manual police officer having to identify the violation, pull over the violating driver, and ticket him. Now, the statistics for these policemen are roughly 2 tickets every hour. And if the violating driver takes the case to court, court proving is relatively complicated. And all this result in the fact that the most dangerous driving violations are simply too expensive to enforce, and hence they are not enforced, and hence road fatality remains as it is. Oops, I'm sorry. So how can technology help us? The way we vision enforcement is we think that the vast majority of traffic enforcement should come from 2 types of devices. A, and most important, static cameras monitoring a road segment combined with video analytics to identify automatically when a violation has taken place. And only when a violation takes place, you take the video clip and transmit it to back office for further processing. Now, in order to create deterrence throughout the city, you have to complete the fixed systems with mobile cars patrolling, again, installed with video cameras, identifying violations, and proceeding with a video clip for further processing. Let's look at it from an officer's point of view. In our perception, an officer should sit in front of an application that looks like this. Moving here. More or less like a mail application. Whenever a camera identifies a violation, it sends a report of this violation to the police officer. The police officer, of course, has all the statistical data of the violation, place, time, type of violation performed. And most important, they have a video clip of the violation. Now, I will show you some real-life example taken from various places. This is the entrance to Ayalon Highway, one of the busiest highways in Israel. And you can see here one of the most frustrating violations. On the left side, you can see the mass of your voters, law-abiding citizens, waiting patiently for the line. You can see here a clearly marked traffic island. And you can see the cars that are driving over the traffic island, getting as a second car in the lane, actually increasing city congestion. The example we have here, you can see the blue Skoda, clearly getting out of line, clearly driving over a traffic island, increasing congestion, clearly a traffic violation. Now, After an officer has viewed the video and decided that the violation has indeed taken place, you also complete the legal picture with a high-resolution image of the violating vehicle. In this case, you can see the license plate, make, color. In some territories, you have to take the pictures from the back. Are there people in the US in the room from the US? Raise hands. Not that many. In the US, you are not allowed to take pictures from the front. So you don't see who's in the car and what is he doing at the right time, but you can take the picture from the rear. And after the police officer has validated the violation has indeed taken place, and he has solid violator identification evidence, all he has to do is go and issue a ticket. Compare the quality of evidence, the quality of violations enforced, and the efficiency of the police officer using such a platform. Now, of course, video gives you a lot of other interesting options. You can enforce a much wider spectrum of violations. One example, we will take this. This is, of course, this is a camera located in a place with a lower number of violations, but much more dangerous violations. This is what is called a red road. It's a 5-mile stretch with 7 lethal accidents in it. You can see the road. You can see a solid white line clearly marked. You can see a car that is a truck which is heading our way. This truck is speeding, but that's not interesting. What's interesting is that the car cuts the curve with almost half of its width, and it's doing it when a Ford is coming from the opposite direction. Now, fortunately for this driver, he was alert. He saw the truck coming. He veered to the road shoulder, and nothing happened. But if the driver you see here was speaking on his cell phone or reaching for his cigarette lighter, this driver would have been a killer. Again, with video-based enforcement, all you have to do is dedicated 2 minutes of police officers' time to get these wild drivers off the road. The benefits of such systems are huge. You can increase by 2 orders of magnitude the probability of catching an aggressive driving violation. You have certain validation both of the violation and the context, extremely manpower efficient, and you have solid evidence both for the violator, for the court, and very important for the public, and I will speak about the marketing aspects of such enforcement shortly. Now, such systems can enforce much more than just driving violations. For instance, you can also enforce parking violations. Oops, I'm sorry. That's one. For instance, this example. This is a place where we have actually 3 violations rolled into one. A lady is parking on the curbside, on a crosswalk, and blocking a lane. She's a fairly clever lady because she knows the area. She knows the wardens have a very rare frequency of patrol after a certain hour at her street. She's sitting at the store looking at the car and praying that when a warden comes, she could rush quickly to the car and move it away. Again, the benefits of video, you can see the car stopped, you can see the location. You can tell if the car is only stopping to drop someone off or actually parking. You can implement time-limited parking with such a system. And after you notice what people are doing, you can verify that they're only implementing the policy that you want to have in your city. Oops. Okay, I will give one last example of the systems. As I said, we think enforcement should be done by 2 types of systems, fixed systems and mobile system. The following is an excerpt from a news item displayed in Israel's primary news channel of deployment of a mobile system in Israel. I will do the translation. That's the manager of wardens. With our systems, we no longer have to have the problematic encounter with a violator next to the car. There's no haggling. There's no trying to convince I didn't make a violation. Violations are detected, identified, and the people are ticketed, and tickets are sent by mail nearly automatically after they have been manually verified. Now, the coverage you can get with a mobile system is unbelievable. We have here 3 exemplary violations. This lady parking on the crosswalk, where you can see her, the resolution is not that good here. You can see her coming back with her falafel bags to the car after she did her food shopping. You can see the car parked in a bus station, and you can see the obstruction of traffic this car has presented. Or you can see parking 4 wheels on the sidewalk, actually blocking the path for the bike driver here, which would have to go to the road. And the concluding remark of the warden was that with such evidence, people will have a very hard time in court should they try to challenge the ticket. Now, we have to remember the goal of enforcement is to change public behavior, and the public perception of traffic enforcement is very, very important. Today, traffic police is a branch of police that saves the most lives in the police force, and surprisingly, is the police branch with the lowest popularity. Now, when you come to your voters and you're trying to explain that we gave a 75-mile-per-hour ticket on an open highway, you get mixed reactions. In some places, the speed cameras were voted down. Some people say that's legit enforcement. However, when you come to your voters and say, this is the driver I want to take off the road, and this is the driver I want to take off the road, and this is the driver I want to take off the road, it's very easy for you to convince your voters that you are not only protecting citizens and their families, you really are making the world a safer place. Any questions?
The interesting thing is to predict in order that they don't make this, let's say, violation.
That's an excellent point. What you have to do with traffic enforcement is not only ticket. Most important is you have to have deterrence generated over a sustainable period of time. And for this, you have to have both public acceptance of what you're doing and public perception that your enforcement is efficient enough to catch people. When drivers know that crime doesn't pay, they drive more carefully. And hence, you have to combine the operational points with the marketing points and with the financial aspects of such a system, so you will be able to deploy it on a wide scale to exactly generate deterrence. And the last thing I will speak is, again, the financial efficiency of such systems. When you're creating a traffic enforcement system, deployment financial efficiency is a design goal of the system. It's not something that you're doing as an afterthought. You have to design financial efficiency in the labor involved in the process while still keeping the process humane. You have to make the endpoint cheap to deploy. You have to use existing infrastructure where it exists. For instance, the UK has wonderful video-based enforcement. However, it costs the UK taxpayer around £500 million to reach to this point. If you come with a proper perception in advance, you can reach the same goal in a much lower sum. And very important for cities, if the system is cheap to deploy, you have wonderful business models that can allow a risk-free deployment to the city at no taxpayer cost. So to summarize, summary, perfect timing. So to summary, the concept we've shown is the only one we know of that efficiently enforces the life-threatening driving violations. The enforcement is just and done in a transparent manner to the public, and it is financially viable, allowing a wide-scale deployment, as we said, and deterrence generation. Only this combination, we feel, is the basis for a sustainable change in driving behavior. Now, as you may have noticed, road safety is a passion of mine. If any of you want to come and speak with me, that's my contact info. Thank you very much for having me.